Get Pucked. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Pucked podcast. Matt, Dave, and Vito here, and today is a sad day. Today is a sad day, gents, as I'm sure you know, and as I'm sure many who are going to watch this now know. The exhibition game of the Habs and Leafs the other night. Well, that went probably as bad as anybody could have possibly have imagined. So just your initial take on the Laine injury. There's Reinbacher as well we'll get to, but I think that at the forefront, everyone's talking about Laine. What's your thoughts on that one, Dave? Vito?
Well, it sucks. Definitely probably the last thing you ever wanted to see happen in a preseason game. This is one of the reasons I hate preseason. I mean, I absolutely despise it with every fiber of my being. I think it's absolutely, I mean, I understand you need to get tuning games up, but you can't have, there's so many of them. It's just too long and too much. It sucks. It's absolutely a horrible situation for the Canadiens to be in, for Patrik Laine to be in. It's absolutely a disaster for both the Habs and Patrik Laine. So it's going to depend on obviously how bad the injury is. It didn't look good, certainly.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, it doesn't look like it's going to be good, but who knows? Maybe it's just a bone bruise, or who the heck knows?
If some freak miracle by some way, shape, or form, he ends up only being out a couple weeks, I think that would be like the most amazing news you can get. But yes, at this particular moment, at the time of this recording, there's been no updates on the situation, except that we know that both he and Reinbacher left the Bell Center last night in crutches and braces around their knees. Not a good sign. And of course, there's that, at this point, infamous photo out there where it shows Laine's knee completely bent in a way it should not be bent. So, Vito?
Well, if Laine is out long-term, and by all accounts, it looks like he is, the way you're seeing, the way, like you said, the way his knee was bent and all that stuff, and just that terrible, terrible injury. And I think it's the same knee that was hurt in the past already. No, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. I know it's his left knee.
So it basically brings the Canadiens back to being a one-line team again. So I have my concerns for the rest of the year, and it's very deflating because we had a lot to be excited about. We finally had another scoring threat and all of this, and now it's just like we're almost icing the exact same roster again in a sense, right? So it kind of sucks. And to the preseason thing, I've said it for the last few years. I don't disagree with having a preseason. It just shouldn't be 6 or 7 games. It should be more like 3. And there should be a criteria where the roster needs to be filled with at least 75% NHLers. It shouldn't be these journeyman AHL players that are just there to get their name out there, and they're some of them are just there to either headhunt or just be stupid. And
I just want to step in here, and I know it's not going to be a popular opinion, but I don't think it was as dirty as people are gonna. It's as if, like, I think this play could have happened to any defenseman, right? Like, I think Patrik Laine had a very wide stance. I think he cut in at the last minute without really adjusting his knee, if you look at it. And it's not as if Paré stuck out his knee incredibly, or it didn't seem.
What the heck were you watching?
I'm watching.
That knee is out wide.
Guys, if you play hockey, the game moves incredibly fast. And
I agree.
Because he's skilled and beat Paré. So cut in. The only way Paré could stop him was to throw his knee out.
But the problem is cutting in like that. Like, the problem is you can't cut in at high speed in between two players. It was. I don't want to blame, and you never want to blame the guy on this. But at the end of the day, look at Paré's stance before Laine does anything. It's the exact stance. He doesn't really extend that knee out too much. He just has a wide stance.
I saw that.
And Laine is the one that cuts in, and obviously he leans in to give him a hit. So the knee moves, but it doesn't change. He doesn't stick it out. And I'm telling you that. I mean, as a guy, I play hockey. I've played hockey all my life. It's an incredibly there's a distinction there between a hit like that, and that's why you're not seeing calls for Paré's head in any circles other than the Canadian circles, and the hate he's getting from Habs fan on Instagram and stuff. That's another topic entirely. I think it was more of a hockey play. It wasn't a nice play. It was a penalty. It should have been a penalty. It should have, and definitely it wasn't a great play. But it wasn't as if it was this bomb.
I see it differently.
Hold on. I'm gonna try something. Give me 1
In
second.
the meantime, while you're trying,
Go.
the way that I saw the stance and all that, yes, you're right. Laine was wide and he didn't adjust his knee and all that. But the way I saw Paré is that he knew both those guys, the way they were sandwiching in Laine, the moment he was about to pass Paré, look at Paré's knee slightly shift just enough to say, hey, I'm going to try to slow him down by tripping him. Was his intent to injure him? Maybe not.
Okay, so then
moment, please, fellas. Moment, please. Could you pull my second screen in? I have it pulled up here. I just want to show it. Watch this. Okay. Watch. He sticks that knee right into him. The other guy here.
This angle looks bad. If Laine's stance is not as
How about
wide,
this angle? How about this angle?
Look how
he sticks the knee right into him.
Look how wide. If you could slow it down, look how wide Laine's stance is. He has nowhere to go. The only thing he could have done is let him pass. That's the only hockey play. What did you want him to do? And that's
he's like this. He's sticking out his arms completely at that point.
It's a hockey play. Show me a play where a guy cuts in the middle and the defenseman just lets him go by. I'll tell you why. It's a highlight reel because he blows by him. What did you want him to do? I'm serious.
I understand. I understand. The problem is, and this kind of harkens back to what Vito's suggesting. And anything could have happened, and it could have been an NHL All-Star defenseman who possibly would have done the same thing. Possibly. But I know for certain that the skill disparity between Paré, who is a journeyman AHLer, who has, I think, like a game or two of NHL, that's it. He could not stop him. The speed coming in, he should have. I don't know. Yeah, it's preseason. You let him blow past you. I know it makes you. It's just. I know it's probably a silly thing to say because it's these guys. They got the pride. They want to play hard. But if you can't stop them, you can't stop them. You don't throw your knee out. And he threw his knee out. He had the knee wide, and then he pushed the knee into his leg. You saw it.
I would disagree with that. I honestly disagree with that. I don't disagree that their knees connected but it wasn't him sticking his knee out. It was him going to hit him that moved his knee into Laine's incredibly wide.
The only difference was their actual intent to injure. I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, he was out there looking for the." No. Nobody was out there looking to blow someone's knee. That being said, he saw very clearly Laine coming right at him. He did a quick move with his wide open legs to move to the side. And instead of trying to hit him to the side, he stuck his leg out. It was probably like a split-second reaction.
Okay, but
it was a bad move, and it was intentional. He stuck the knee out.
It wasn't the attempt to stop him was intentional, not the attempt. There was no attempt to injure whatsoever.
No, I didn't say that. He didn't attempt to injure. He attempted to stop him the best he can in a dumb manner, and this is why this kid doesn't play in the NHL. He threw his knee out. His knee out.
All right. I mean, I disagree with you. If you could do a deep dive and probably find this play happen 9 times out of 10 when someone cuts in between two players like that. It just doesn't result in the injury.
I don't want to pull it back up again, but if you notice, I also thought it was two guys like this and he cut between. In fact, the other Leafs player is already behind Laine, trying to get behind him, trying to catch up to him.
You have to have a situation. The guy's a pro NHL player who scores 40 goals. He knows he's there.
I'm not saying no, but it's not like he had two guys and he purposely tried to thread the needle. He was beating the guy on his right, and then he had a guy on his left, and he tried to cut in past him, which he should have been able to do had he not tried to do a last-ditch effort. And the best that he could do, instead of throwing a stick and tripping him, or instead of cross-checking him, which would have probably amounted to nothing because he's a big, strong dude, Laine, he stuck his knee out. And it was a mistake. Not intent to injure, but it was intentional. He put his knee out.
All right. I mean,
I don't know. I think the evidence is there. I mean, I guess you can look at it both ways.
When you slow down a piece of tape of high speed tape like that,
yes.
And you say the knees, take a look. The knees were like right there with each other before the play even started. I mean, what do you want a guy to do in that spot? Of course, he's not a 6-time NHL All-Star, and that's probably why he's slower in reacting, and that's probably why the accident happened. But it doesn't mean that it was a crazy thing.
I get what you're saying. I think fundamentally my beef with it is kind of where Vito was going about it a little bit. Like, I don't have a pitchfork out for Paré. I think he's a nobody and it's a nothing, and we won't ever hear about him again, except for a footnote that he possibly really derailed Patrik Laine. We don't know the extent of the injury. And again, hopefully it's not as bad as everybody thinks it is. That being said, I go back to this notion of the lineup that the Leafs iced yesterday. I'm not coming in here with a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, given that the game just prior was a Jonathan Tavares injury with a hit from Pizzetta, and then the nonsense that Robertson did to Nylander that knocked him down and he took a knee to the head. So it looked like two of their big guys got hurt. And then who did they send to Montreal? A bunch of nobodies. Basically their AHL team was peppered in with a bunch of fourth and third liners from their team. I'm not saying they did this on purpose. I'm not saying Craig Berube, did this on purpose. But look at the team that the Habs iced. It was mostly their main team. So my point is this. You should have equal lineups against each other if you're going to play preseason.
Vito, I'll bring you back. Sorry, Matt, I'll bring you back to the previous game. You sent in our group chat, you sent the lineup that the Habs iced just the game previous.
Yep.
With the saying quite a lineup, because what was peppered in there? The top line was Dvorak, a third liner, Newhook, and Heineman, a guy who won't even make the team. The second line, nobody makes the team on that one.
Correct.
The third line, you have one NHLer.
Which is exactly why I'm not saying this is a Leaf intentional thing. I'm not joining the conspiracy theorists who said this was revenge. I saw a couple of big name people say, was this revenge? No. My beef is with preseason. And I'm going to Vito's point, which he can now continue on if he'd like to. My point is this. You can't make it perfectly even, but whatever the number is on one side, it should reflect the other side. And it should be skill-based as best as possible. Nobody here is sitting here saying, John, I don't know, Austin Matthews on one side and, we're going to put Pizzetta on our side. Ooh, two NHLers. No. Ice, appropriate skill. You put your first line, we put our first line. You put AHL second line, we put AHL second line. It's actually better hockey.
Yeah, but who dictates that? How do you ever?
Well, no, the NHL should have a rule that across the board on each night that you're going to have a preseason game. There's anywhere between 65 and 75% of your roster. They have to figure out that number, but somewhere in there, they have to be NHLers, guys who have played a certain number of games before the start of this preseason. So they had to have at least, hypothetically, you played 50 games in the NHL. You have to have that many players in that lineup that have played at least 50 games. And that's how they should do that.
To me, it goes against what the spirit of training camp and preseason is. It's to see what your young guys can do and who's going to make the team. If you just put, to me, it should almost be the opposite. And I know it's stupid because marketing wise, it doesn't make sense for the fans who pay money to go see these games. But it should almost be less NHLers in these games would probably solve the problem a little bit better, because you want to see what your guys have that are young in your system and how they fit into your system, into your coaching system, and you want to see what it goes. Like, what does it do to me to go watch the Canadiens opening night roster in a preseason game?
At the same time, you want to see those players. You want to see those players play with other NHLers to see if what you're seeing on the ice,
which is why
because they're people at their level, or is it because they're actually players that are better?
Which is why the system that's in place now, it is what it is. You know what I mean? And it's going to be very hard to fix in that sense. The only way to do it is to really reduce the number of games, to reduce the chance of injury.
We're all in agreement. We're all in agreement across the board. I think there's no reason to have as many preseason games as we have. I think that's across the board. I think a middle ground between what you're both saying, either 75% NHLers or 75% not NHL players, and see what you got. I think the middle ground is this. Accidents can happen at any given point. So have less opportunities for them to happen. There you limit that. But more importantly, you don't have the skill discrepancy that's on the ice where you have either 10-2 blowout games where it's ridiculous, and you want to see what you truly have.
But Matt, the realistic thing is that even if the Leafs had iced 75% NHLers last night, Paré probably would have still gotten a shot to see, because they want to see what he has. So he would have still been on the ice, and it still would have happened.
I'm not saying that would have solved it, Dave. I'm not saying that solves it. I'm saying we use this as an opportunity to discuss the situation at hand, which is that the preseason is a joke, that the reffing is in clear preseason mode as well. It's terrible. So, I mean, there's just I don't understand the value of it. If it's something about, like, somebody had mentioned back in the day that people, the NHLers used to use preseason to get into shape. That was something I heard, that these guys used to really
game shape.
You use the preseason to get into game shape so that you're ready for the season. These professional athletes today do not require 6 games to be game shape ready.
And just go the first, almost one of the first games of the preseason when it was Leafs and the Sens. Look at the Leafs' effort. They had Matthews, Marner on the ice for overtime. They didn't even try. It was not even trying. So what shape are you getting into if that's what you're doing?
It's a
there's
joke.
There's too many injuries happening to star players and whatnot. Again, the discrepancy is there. There's guys that are out there from the AHL or whatever that are just trying to make a name of themselves, and sometimes they go about it the wrong way. Now we've seen Doughty. You saw Nylander, potentially Tavares. Now Laine. The bigger name players are starting to pile up, and we're only like 3 games into the preseason or 4 games in for some teams. So I'm just, even though whether it's 3 games or whether it's 6 games, which I think preseason at 3 games should be enough, these types of injuries will happen. But when you have skilled players playing a certain way and have a certain level of hockey IQ, and it's not people that are going out there just to, not going out there to play an AHL style of game and trying to hurt people, or I'm not accusing Paré of being intentional in his injury and injuring Laine, but at the same time, it's like, this is what the guy is. Yeah, he doesn't have the same skills. So what do? You take shortcuts. You try to compensate. You do stupid things like he did yesterday, or like stupid plays. So that's why I'm suggesting it should be at least 75% of the NHL, is to balance out the quality and the skill that you have on the ice, and those 25%. Mix and match them into your lineup.
Yeah, but to Dave's point, I mean, of the 25%, Paré could have been in that 25%. He could have been out there.
Paré's the guy's been in the AHL for
it doesn't matter. We have guys that are on the AHL also that are probably going to be journeymen that we ice. My whole thing about it is this was a freak thing. It could have happened at any time. Does it make it easier to swallow if hypothetically Morgan Rielly did it to him?
No, I don't think so, man. I think the result is the same. That's my point. Is that, like, no matter what happened, it happened. It's a disaster. It's obviously for the fan base. It's a little bit. It's
massively deflating.
It's deflating.
It's that type of
because from the Habs fans' perspective, and for us too, is the fact that when they acquired Laine, the first thing we started to feel and the sentiments we were getting is that we're getting out of this rebuild. We've been waiting and going through this rebuild and being patient. We even knew that getting Laine doesn't mean it was the end of the rebuild, that we were still continuing to go through the motions of the rebuild, but we're in the next step. Now, losing Laine, if it's the whole season or long term, it just brings us back to the same roster we basically had, but with Kirby Dach in it. Right, and the power play is still abysmal. They're like 1 for 21 or something like that. So it's like nothing's changed now. Yes, we have a cupboard full of prospects. It's not all doom and gloom at the moment. The season hasn't even started yet.
Things
but
change.
It's deflating. You're looking at that, and now it's like we're back to this exact same personnel as we were last year.
We're not. Hold on. I disagree.
That stupid injury bug seems to continue because Montreal from 2020 up until now, they have the most
it's disgusting
in NHL history.
Yes, it's all. You could use the word cursed because it's starting to get to that point. It is funny, but I will disagree with you. A lot of people are suggesting the same thing, like with Laine now out. Oh, that's it. It's the they're not the same team. Barring knock all the wood that you possibly can here. Barring anything else crazy happening, having Kirby Dach back is pretty massive. Yeah. You got Lane Hudson, who's definitely going to be making this team. That's a massive thing. You have the 2 goalie system, not the 3 goalie carousel. I think that's going to be pretty massive as well for stability.
Up front, the team is the same with Kirby Dach there.
Okay, but I'll bring you back to August 18th, okay, which is a little bit more than a month ago. The day before, even, I think it was 2 days before we recorded an episode, nobody was saying gloom and doom. We're going into the season with the same roster. There was still hope and excitement for the season. Is. So you can't. I understand that line. It's deflating. It's what could have been. It's whatnot. Although it's still, we don't know the extent of the injury, but obviously it's not looking good. But at the end of the day, you can't go from like here to here, doom and gloom. Because of this.
I mean, I'm not saying it's here to here. I'm like here. You know what I mean? Like I'm halfway between both directions. Because I was looking, when even last episode, Matt had said, what was the thing you're excited about? What's the storyline you're excited about? His first thing he said was the Patrik Laine.
Of course. Patrik Laine was the most exciting thing that's happened to this team in forever.
We were talking about, the last time they acquired a player of this caliber or of this potential was Alex Kovalev. Things like that. We knew that our offseason was so exciting because Demidov and all of the acquisitions and the things like that. But that was the one that you said, oh, okay, wait a minute. Now we're in the mix. Now we might play meaningful games. if we're the same roster up front, yes, Kirby Dach is a huge piece, but he's a massive question mark just as much as he is a big piece. But it's the same roster. The Dvoraks are still there. The Armias are still there. The Gallaghers are still there.
They're better than last year.
Josh
They're
Anderson's
better.
still there. Suzuki is still the first line. Block that top line. But that's it.
But they're going to be better regardless. With or without Patrik Laine.
They risk being a bottom 5 team to a bottom 8 now.
Listen, while that would still not be great, it is improvement. It is. They're going to be, barring anything crazy else happening, I legitimately feel with or without Patrik Laine, this team is going to be better.
Where are they going to get the 35 goals that he would have posted?
I thought he could get that, but nobody said that's a guarantee.
That's
flip it around to the other side. You've got guys that you have to now possibly plug in. Like the conversation now steers towards with Laine being out. Does Kapanen now make the team? Can Kapanen take that spot? He's had a tremendous season, a preseason, a great rookie camp. He's not Patrik Laine. He's not Patrik Laine, and I'm not saying he's going to be, but now you got another guy, another new player on the team that can maybe add something to the mix. Things are going to happen. To your point, doom and gloom, no. Prior to this game yesterday, the Hab fandom was looking at this season. It was blue skies, not a cloud there, rainbows, and the loveliness of that picturesque kind of mindset. To now, I don't think it's a downpour with tornadoes or whatever, but it's cloudy and it's dark and it's not pleasant. The luster is down. The morale is down, and it's going to be down until we hear the news about how bad it is. And we're not even talking about Reinbacher yet, who also in 8 seconds into the game goes down, and he left with a knee brace, fell in some obscure way.
Weird. His injury, because that was
very rare.
It reminds me of Doc.
Yeah.
Who got hit. He went into the boards, and you're like, okay, that was a big hit, but he looks okay. And then he's done for the season. It literally reminds me of that. It's crazy.
It's not great.
It's not great. But that is an understatement. It is not great. It is not great.
Come on. How do you say his knee wasn't getting – look at that. Whose knee extends that way?
Yeah, but look, what do you mean? But look, he's leaning into him for a hit. Look at his upper body, okay? Look, it's going in for a hit. What is Laine's leg doing there?
But when you're leaning in for a hit, you're not
lean like upper. You lean with your shoulder, not your knee.
Yeah, he's there like he's about to stretch.
You lead with your legs. That's where you get your strength. He's not leading with his thing. He planted his leg and he's going upwards.
No, fine. You plant the legs. I'm not saying no, but my point is where the contact is happening, the knee is out much further, unless if he was prepared to literally spring across and hit him with a flying elbow and shoulder.
It's if you look at this picture, it's further than his shoulder.
It's a bad look.
Man. Like you just stop it on there. Like guys, Laine's leg has no business being there. Look how wide his stance is for a guy who's cutting in between two players at high speed to the net. It's
again.
This guy just Tony Jawed his knee.
Yes, I mean, yeah, it's
guys. Man, like if you play hockey, it's such a fast game.
And I have.
Okay, if you're playing at that speed, man, and you break it down into moments like this, it looks bad, but it's a hockey play, man. It's a penalty for sure.
Didn't get one.
It's not. I know what. There you go. That goes back to the officiating. And I'm going to get so much hate on this, by the way. I could see the 97 comments saying Dave's an idiot and this and that because 100%. The emotions in Montreal is high. But go look around the NHL. Go look around the NHL, and that's what I did a little bit on Twitter. There's nobody really calling for Paré to be tossed out of the league, this and that. There's nobody other than Habs fans who are harassing him.
I'm not saying toss him out. It's not toss. And hold on. I just want to make sure that this is absolutely clear from my point before, Vito, you get to yours to make sure that everybody understands. I don't believe Paré was there with an intent to hurt him. I believe what he said. As much as he looked like I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the interview where he's there. I don't know if he's a nervous smiler and laughing guy or whatever, but I don't know. He's busy almost giggling like, I didn't really mean to hurt him, but, hockey.
I don't think he was.
He didn't do it. He didn't do it with intent to hurt. I feel given enough that These are professionals, and while we see it at a blistering speed, their minds are supposed to be able to see these things at a slower down pace as it's coming in. My belief is he saw Laine was about to embarrass him and skate right past him like a pylon, and his intent was, I have to stop him, and he started to stick his knee out and throw his body to stop him, and the knee hit first. The intent was I must stop him. Not I must injure him, I must stop him. And he used his knee.
Judgment. In that moment, in that split second, okay, that was just a bad judgment that his brain forced
because he's not an NHL player.
He's not an NHL player. So that's where, and the fact that, and by the way, Dave, to correct you and all that, if you actually, like on Twitter and all that, there was a lot of Leafs fans. There's a lot of Leafs fans actually.
Yeah, there's some. Yeah, for sure. There's obviously going to be some, but I'm saying
that was dirty. If this would have happened to Matthews and whatnot, you'd have Reeves jumping on one of the players. And you know what Xhekaj did?
Of course,
it is a suspendable offense. I'm all for it.
Of course.
Well, okay, let's get to Xhekaj in a second because a lot of people, and I'm talking the professionals, the TSN professionals, and these guys are saying, "Oh, this is bad what Xhekaj did. This is very, very bad." And that wasn't the code. That was like goonery, and he should be suspended for many games. And Paré didn't even fight. Here comes Dave. Yeah, okay, Dave. How many games should he get? How many?
No, I'm all for it. I'm going to be on your side. I'm saying.
I'm shocked.
Okay, I'm saying that it probably wasn't the best thing to do. But if you're Arber Xhekaj, you have to do that. There's no other point. First off, Arber Xhekaj, and this is maybe a discussion for another time. Like his spot is on the blue line is not 100% guaranteed forever. He has to be this guy in order. That's his role, man. Like he's not going to be putting up the points. He needs to be this guy. So he needs to do something. When something like that happens, he needs to step up. He's the sheriff. He needs to police the game for the Canadiens. It's a terrible look. It's not great, but if I was in his position or if I was his teammate, I absolutely love it. And that's what you want to do. Take whatever game suspension you need. I don't care, man. I need to see that. If he hadn't done anything, if no one had stepped up, that would have been the conversation today about, oh, why didn't Arber Xhekaj step up? Why didn't anybody step in and do this? He did what he had to do. He didn't injure him. He didn't do anything crazy dirty. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't great in terms of the code and the game and the ethics. But at the end of the day, man, you do what you have to do. He didn't go over the top. He didn't Bertuzzi him and ram his head into the ice and try to injure him. In my opinion,
I mean, he mauled him pretty good.
But he didn't try to injure him. Xhekaj could have injured him.
No, Xhekaj could have taken his gloves off, grabbed him, and pounded his face. He left gauntlets on, which for some people think that this is worse. I don't know if it's better or not. To be honest with you, I've never been punched in the face with a hockey gauntlet versus an actual fist to be able to put that connection. But they're like, oh, he left his gauntlets on. Oh, it's so much worse. I'm like, is it though? Is it? And he was punching him in the helmet, not really the face. He was behind him. It wasn't a good look. But to your point, I'm 100. You had to do something, especially with no penalty being given to Paré on the knee on knee, which apparently also all four refs didn't see. That's what they told David Savard, who relayed that to the media. He's like, "How do you guys not give a penalty? We missed it."
Yeah, but they had no problem seeing that hooking job from Lane Hudson.
We missed it.
Yeah, okay, stop. Listen, the Xhekaj move. If they suspend them game, 2 games, 3 games, I could understand why. Okay, but to Dave's point, this is something he had to do. And when a player like Paré or any player for that matter goes and take out a star player, the bell you rung the bell, and you're gonna have to, like, the bell's being rung, you have to answer it. And
he should have fought back.
That's the way the NHL is. And for those Leafs fans, I don't care if you crucify me, if you reach out to me on Twitter, those Leafs fans that are grabbing that picture of Bertuzzi and saying it's the same thing, you're all idiots. Because part of that injury with Bertuzzi, I don't want to go back too much, was not only what Bertuzzi did, it was the ramming the head into the ice and then the whole roster of everybody jumping on and piling up and just destroying that poor kid.
But you can see the intent behind Bertuzzi. You can see him. You can see the vicious punch from behind, the ramming into the ice. Like Xhekaj could have done that easily, and he didn't. Man, he didn't. He I don't want to say he let him off easy, but Xhekaj
he ragdolled him.
No. Listen, there was a couple people. Yeah, a couple people made the comparison of those two. I think you're so out of touch to make a comparison of those two. It's not even close to the same thing. It wasn't good. we're Habs fans here. We admit it wasn't a good look. We know that he was coming out. It's his job to do what he's going to do. I think Paré should have owned up to it, intentional or not, accidental or not. You know what happened. You're the cause of it. You know you're going to have to do it. Either grab each other, take one in, and fall down. Do what you got to do if you don't want to get mauled too bad. But you got to answer. You got to answer. This is going to happen. This is hockey. There's nothing you can do about it.
And ironically, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Xhekaj grabbing the player from behind and doing all those and like starting to hit him. Yes, I get it. It could be a suspendable offense. But if you're gonna compare the Bertuzzi, because again, I opened X not that long ago, and it's the first picture I'm seeing everywhere. Okay, if you're gonna compare it to the Bertuzzi thing, Bertuzzi literally grabbed the guy, punched him, and went on the floor and started on top of him, smashing his head practically, and then everybody jumped off. Xhekaj stayed above him the entire time until he lost his footing, and was basically ragdolling him and throwing some punches with gloves.
Not even comparable. And
it's not.
The ironic part is that, like, had Paré actually stood up, I think that would have drawn more attention. Like, I thought that would have made him stand out more to the Leafs brass than what he actually ended up doing, is being ragdolled and not answering the bell. I think people respect that. Look, he did what he did, and you answer the bell to it. I think that's what hockey is. It's not now, how it used to be.
And to the Montreal fans, because I don't want to seem like I'm just biased, guys, whoever's doing this, the few accounts that are doing this, stop posting the Tavares, Corey Perry playoff thing and the face that Tavares looked like right after that injury, because you guys are idiots too.
Listen, these are fringe people across the board. I'm not going to give them any of them the time of the day. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's just, again, summarized, it's a deflating situation. There was a lot of riding high on it, and you hate, and it's a personal thing too. I mean, after everything Patrik Laine has gone through, to see this have to happen and now be out for a more extended period of time, likely, and miss hockey, this is just bad across the board. And it was for nothing. It was for nothing. This wasn't a playoff game. This wasn't some important game. This was a nothing game. Preseason game number 4. And that's what really salt on the wounds of this whole thing. It was avoidable. There was no reason for it. To Dave's point, you can make, I mean, you don't want to victim blame the guy who got hurt, but like, yeah, I mean, but then again, that's the game he plays. You can't say, oh, you didn't have to try to split I mean, it's his style. And it's just one of those things that it happened and it sucks. And you don't really want to start talking anymore about intent or not. I think we've gone down that road enough now in this episode. It's just, what's next? So is it Kapanen that's coming in that's going to have his spot? Do you see somebody else that's going to go up there in the top 6 and move up? Like my final thought on this. What do you think is going to happen now?
My hope, it's not going to happen. But my hope is that now there's a spot available and there's a player that's supposed to be a future superstar that's in the KHL who just lost the center and is playing third line minutes. Find a way as a Habs brass, pay whatever you got to pay, and you bring that kid home.
That is like
late for that. I mean, look, that'd be an interesting scenario. But
that'd be good though. That'd be good.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. Yeah. I think a lot of people and a lot of Habs fans would be like, okay, yeah, it still sucks, but we got.
Let me ask you this: until they get a witch doctor or something to take this voodoo curse off of them, do you want Demidov near the team right now?
If Demidov came here and somehow got hurt in a similar fashion, then this whole team needs to go to see somebody.
You need that old lady from the Poltergeist movie coming in. This arena is cleansed. You need to do something. I don't know what it is, but you need to do something because it's wild, man. It's absolutely wild. It's so unjust for the players, for the fans, for everybody.
It's like the Montreal Canadiens are still paying the price, but paid a price for that playoff run.
Yeah, you could argue. Anyways, listen, we'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. I mean, I can't imagine the opinions are going to be too varying here. Laine now potentially out. Who knows? Season, couple months. We have no idea at this particular point of the recording. What's your thoughts on it, on how it went down? Do you see it more to Dave's point? Do you see it more like how perhaps Vito and I see it in terms of intent or accidental? What would you do in terms of preseason games? Obviously, should there be less? Are you comfortable with the numbers that there are presently? Let us know all that stuff in the comments down below. We're very, very eager to hear what you guys have to say. and let us know your overall sentiments about what's going to be now a not as exciting opening game, I guess, is how you would look at it. Like and subscribe, please, if you haven't. That's always really appreciated. And yeah, I guess until the next one, we'll see. We'll give some updates on X, of course, and we'll be interacting with you guys there when we find out more about Laine and Reinbacher. But until then, on this somber day after, for Dave and Vito, I'm Matt, and this was
Get Pucked.